is Mickey Mania, and it is the definitive Mickey Mouse game. But this isn't only the best Mickey Mouse game, it's one of my favorite games on Sega Genesis. Now, this game made its way onto a few other consoles in its lifetime, but I'll get into that later. Mickey Mania doesn't really have a story, it has something more along the lines of 6 miniature plots. This is because Mickey travels his way through 6 different time periods, and each time period is based on a classic Mickey Mouse episode, like Steamboat Willie and other classic Mickey cartoons. Without a doubt, this is one of the best looking games on Sega Genesis. Although, I wouldn't say this game pushes Sega to its limits like some games. This game captures Mickey in a way that the old cartoons did, and pulls it off perfectly. I mean, the levels in this game look like they were taken right off the cartoons they were based off of. The first level in this game even starts off in black and white, just like the original Steamboat Willie. You can easily see that a great amount of detail was put into all aspects of this game, with every level having its own unique setting with a completely different set of enemies too. It featured some very interesting level effects too, like Mickey's escape from a rampaging moose, or his escape from a crumbling tower, which looks a lot like Tower Toppler for the Atari for some reason. But anyway, onto the music. Even though it's not the most memorable soundtrack, it sets the mood for every level perfectly. My favorite part of the soundtrack would have to be the boss music though. It totally sets the mood, and I feel like it should be used for every Mickey boss battle. Or maybe not, but it's still great. Don't be fooled by the cartoony look of this game though, it's hard. But unlike Fantasia, the difficulty's by design, so every challenge you face is meant to be there. The controls are very tight too, so if you die, you've got no one to blame but your own hands. Now, this game was thrown on a bunch of different systems after the Sega. One of the more well-known ones, and is actually even more well-known than the original Sega Genesis version, is the one for Super Nintendo. And this is a horrible port of the game. For starters, it's missing a level. Yeah, maybe it's just a bonus level, but it's still a level. And it's Band Concert Mickey. I love Band Concert Mickey. And it has loading times for every screen. I didn't even think it was possible to have loading times. And this is actually how long it takes to load. And don't forget the terrible hit detection. That just went right through him. The graphics are worse. The music sounds terrible. And the worst part, you can't ring Steamboat Willie's bell. Thank you, Genesis, for having the bell. Now, I could keep going on and on about everything that's wrong with the Super Nintendo version, but I just wanted to get the point across that it's not a very good port. Now there's the Sega Cd version. The gameplay in this one is pretty much identical to the one on the Genesis, and the graphics are exactly the same. It has a completely remade soundtrack though, but it doesn't fit as well as the original Sega Genesis version. And it has one extra level that incorporates all the Mickeys you've saved, but it feels very pasted on. The reason I don't like this version very much though is because Mickey constantly talks throughout the whole game.
You look awfully familiar. Ooh, I am Mr. Goat. Sorry. Ooh, uh-oh, ooh, tobacco.
And it's just flat out annoying. In the original one, he just said 1 or 2 things, but that was all he needed to say. Believe it or not, the load times in this are actually quicker than they are in Super Nintendo. But that's about it for this version. Last is the PlayStation version. It never came out in the United States though, so I had to import it. Although, it's called Mickey's Wild Adventure now and not Mickey Mania for some reason. Basically, it was a great remake and it's not just a port now. Well, it's just an alright game. I mean, it looks good and it sounds good, but there's nothing really wrong with it either. I just feel like this version doesn't have the charm the Sega one had. On Sega, this game was fantastic, but now it just feels like a mediocre PlayStation game. And if you're playing this as a kid on the PlayStation, you probably don't even know the Mickey cartoons you're playing through. It's a pretty good remake, but that's all it is, a remake, and that's where it ends. Overall, I feel like this is one of Sega's less known games, and that's why I wanted to talk about it so much. Although the gameplay isn't too original, the game was executed perfectly, and the experience of traveling through Mickey's past is great fun. I would definitely suggest picking up this game if you're a collector or just looking for a quality classic to play, because that's exactly what this game is, a classic. And remember, if you like this game, buy it twice.